Hi guys, how you doing? Back again. What I'd like to address tonight is the last few tutorials we talked about angles and how to use everything with punching. I'd like to address the lower end now, the legs, the knees, stepping action, that kind of thing. With the same idea in mind, flanking your opponent, using angles is first and foremost a skill that you have to cultivate in order to be effective in any kind of combat situation, be it self-defense, fighting, whatever you want to call it. So it's moving in relationship with your opponent, and that has to do with placement and where you end up and get in position to dominate or nullify the attack. With that said, if you recall, when say you stand left foot forward and your opponent's here, you can flank out to the left and bump, or have the same thing, you can flank out to the right and bump. Alright? So it follows the same format as everything else we've been doing. The only addition to it is you can do foot traps, you can use your knee, do knee spikes, you can use the bottom of your foot, do stomps, you can use the ball of your foot and push kicks, leg checks. I'm a big advocate of keeping things low. Use the legs for the legs. I don't see the necessity of kicking high in a real situation, unless the person bends down and you have a free neck shot. That's another thing. But with that said, let's just talk about fundamental correctness here for a second. Okay. So if I want to bump off to the left and I'm here, okay, you want to think about range. And your kick, your leg is usually your longest tool, or used in conjunction with your longest punch with your jab or cross. So when you bump, you hit well over 1, 2. You want to always try to follow up foot technique, angling with hand technique, and vice versa. You know what I mean? If you bump off and use a hand technique, you want to try to follow with knee spikes and then angle again. And don't get too comfortable staying and admiring your work. You want to constantly move and shift, but that is done via what your opponent does, or opponents. So again, a quick review now. I like to use my hands in a circular fashion. Top parries, bottom sweeps the leg. Okay. I like to feel what's coming at me. If it's a leg, I like to touch. If it's a punch or a hand, I like to touch it. That way it gives me a feel for where the opponent is. And I like it better. So, you know, some guys just slip, some guys just block, some guys pick up the hands, some guys pick up the legs. I'm a big touch person. I like to do that. So for instance, you come here, boom, and I'm going to use my rear leg, pow, punch, then I step back again, then I shift off this way, all right? Now, if I'm standing left foot forward, I want to flank to my right, okay? I have a couple of options. You remember me talking about having elbow control, right? Well, the person's elbow, from my right hand, his left hand will be out here. If I step with my right foot, it's going to be way back here. What I usually like to do when I step, I like to switch my feet. Then I have that elbow control where you can get to the outside, okay? And I kick it, punch, and then I'm behind him again, and I kick again. Those kind of things. It's never a good idea to stand directly in front of somebody, especially if they're skillful. You'll know that because they're going to move. They're not going to stand in front of you. All right, so now let's address some of the range tools, okay, the different ranges. So if I drop off this way, okay, I can stomp kick. Right? I can foot trap. Right? Foot traps work good. And when you foot trap, you can drop down, you can reap the leg. You know, you can do those kind of things. And it's a big lever. Once you trap the foot, the knee is a big lever. So it works really well if you've ever practiced this kind of thing. And sometimes if you find yourself falling, let your knee fall right on top of the person's foot and then use that trap for a lever. Push the knee in, or push it out, as it were. Okay? Same thing when you bump over to this side, okay? If you do not switch sides, and then what you want to try to do is go ahead and kick, then move, and then step out this way. Now you have the elbow control. Right? Does that make sense? So, this room isn't very big, so if I pan out a camera, I apologize. So, this is what I want to talk about tonight, is the angles that you can use with the feet. And obviously you practice it with the hands and that kind of thing too. Now also too, you can use it as a ducking tool. You get up this way, okay, then you got your drag kicks that you practice doing. Notice I always reach for the bag. I like to touch. I like to know where the person is. Because many times in a real fight, your opponent is usually going to be right there fighting with you, and is going to be aggressive, he's going to be angry, if not drunk or whatever. That's more of a mutual combat thing. If it's an attack, you're going to find yourself using feel. You know, it's not going to be such an eyesight thing because you're probably not going to see them. So get used to touch. Touch is good. It's a little weird, but it is good. And you know, whether there's a weapon involved or not, whether there's multiple opponent involved or not, because when you touch somebody, you know, it's just a simple shove. You know, just to interrupt what they're doing. You know, you see a punch coming, boom. You have the power. You feel these things, and it's just intrinsic. You know, and notice how I moved. That was just part of what I did, and especially since I practice footwork so much. All right. Now let's talk about the different footwork for a second. Okay. As we all know, footwork is about getting in position, different positions. Obviously, you step and slide. You could jump. You could spin. You could turn. You could do many things. The thing you want to be able to do is move again. All right. So in other words, when you step, you don't want to go past Tony Chin alignment. Okay. Why? Because then you're stuck and your back foot gets light. If I go to the back foot, Tony Chin, then my front foot gets light. I can't step again. You always want to be able to step again, no matter how you move. That is the important thing to be able to understand. If you could do that and you step like that, you're always mobile. And if you can't move linearly, you can move sideways, or you can spin, or you can angle off, or you can do oblique. You know, if you practice things like circle walking in Baba forms, they're really, really cool for getting you used to stepping in angles and it develops the hips. You know, I'm not big on the hand changes or anything like that. I do like the footwork drills though. And because I combine it with boxing and Hapkido and Aikido and Filipino martial arts and all that stuff, but there's no better way to move if you study that kind of footwork. Mike Burley has a lot of stuff out there that you really should look into, and there's 52 blocks. That guy's awesome, and I like it a lot. But getting back to this, so think about the angles, right? If you follow me on YouTube a lot, you see that I do the angle stuff with the boxing and the kickboxing. And also too, when you do enter, do your business and then step out of range again, and then step again, walk on. Make them have to turn for you. And then you'll find yourself leaving holes. So also too, another really important point. If you parry to the outside, okay, so now I'm off the person's flank, right? I'm 45 off his arm. I can punch here, he's wide open. I can punch back here, he's wide open because his arm's here. Same thing with the kicks. Everything's going to reach him. If I stand in front of him, he can easily block it. Does that make sense? So always remember that kind of thing, all right? Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to address was if you find yourself sideways, all right? You know, the side kick and back kick and that kind of thing. So when you step out this way and you find yourself sideways, you can throw a simple side kick, or you can turn up over your shoulder and throw a back kick, right? Those are simple things that you can do. But the thing you want to always remember to do, all right, when you do throw any kind of a side kick, pop and get your feet back. You throw a back kick, pop and get your feet back, okay? Or pop and pencil out. You have to get used to that kind of thing, whether you miss, whether you don't. The pendulum stepping is a useful tool for get those springs going in your hips. So all you do, you practice just touching the bag and touch out. Touch the bag, touch out. You're used to doing that kind of thing, so you have balance. Then you practice doing it, not touching anything. Boom, come back. Boom, come back. Touch the bag, don't touch the bag. You want that kind of balance. You want to be able to do it forward, backwards, to the left side, to the right side. Okay? And when you get that down, you just have a nice natural balance. And that's probably the most important thing about footwork. You want to be balanced. You should also have the ability to roll, fall and roll on the ground. You trip, you can roll right out of it. Okay? Arts like Russian Systema, Korean Hapkido, Japanese Aikido, Filipino martial arts, they practice rolling on the ground. Okay? Pretty religiously, and that's also a very good skill to have. You also want to practice all this stuff on the ground as well. And you want to practice it prone on your knees. Any position you can think of. You want to practice striking with your hands and your feet. Learn how to use your whole body. Okay? All right, that's really what I wanted to address. I just wanted to talk about some of the angles with the footwork tonight. Because it did come to mind, because we've been doing a lot of the boxing stuff lately. And I didn't want to forget the lower half. But anyway, email me at billyboston@gmail.com or combativefitnessworkshop@hotmail.com, and feel free to ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. If you want to chat on the phone, leave me your name and number, and I'll be happy to call you. Okay? All right. So I hope everybody has a good night. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.